These ancient bodies have been hiding terrible secrets for hundreds of years, trapped under the damp darkness of peat bogs. What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be talking about pickled humans. I also apologize if I sound funny. I got gum surgery a few days ago, but I got a new mic though. Hey. These mummies are known as bog bodies, but the interesting thing is they weren't preserved by man. They're human cadavers who have been naturally mummified in wetlands known as peat bogs. Such bodies range in age from as old as 10,000 years ago to as recent as World War II. What makes these bodies even more special is the unique way they have been preserved. Peat bogs are highly acidic, with pH levels similar to that of vinegar. They also have poor drainage and lack oxygen, leading to almost completely anaerobic conditions. This leads to the ideal conditions for preservation. It's kind of similar to the way we preserve fruits and vegetables through pickling. Preservation also requires the body to be placed in the bog during the winter, when the water is cold, in order to slow bacteria growth. While with most archaeological finds, we only have the skeleton to work off of. While with most archaeological finds, we only have the skeleton to work off of, in the right conditions, the soft tissue like skin, hair, and even internal organs can be remarkably well preserved in bog bodies. The oldest bog body discovered so far is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce its name, but I'll put it up on the screen. It dates back to 8000 BC from the Mesolithic period. However, most bog bodies date to around the Iron Age, which was about 1200 to 500 BC. Which makes sense, since during that time period, peat bogs covered a lot more of northern Europe. Which makes sense, since during that time period, peat bogs covered a lot more of northern Europe than they do today. Now, are y'all ready for this plot twist? These people didn't just happen to wander into a peat bog before kicking the bucket. No, these people were ritualistically sacrificed. Many bodies show evidence of being hanged, strangled, bludgeoned, stabbed, all that vile stuff. Some have been found with the rope used to hang them still around their neck, such as the Toland man from Denmark. But these people could have been killed for any number of reasons. They may have been criminals being executed, sacrificed to appease a deity, or maybe for ceremonial purposes. You see, historically, bogs have been seen as liminal spaces connected to another world, and people would often leave offerings in there, such as jewelry. Why do you think these people were sacrificed in bogs? After spending hundreds of years buried in peat, how were these bodies discovered? Well, peat is super rich in organic matter, and for centuries, people have been using it as an energy source. So over the years, as people dig up this peat for fuel, they'll occasionally come across a bog body. Possibly the oldest recorded discovery came in 1640 when a body was discovered in Germany. Bodies continued to be discovered throughout the 18th and 19th century, but because they were so well preserved, people actually mistook them for recent murder victims. It wasn't until the 19th century that people began to suspect that these bodies weren't recent, but rather ancient in origin. So how many of these bodies have been discovered so far? A German scientist published a catalog of over 1,800 bog bodies that he had counted, but most of them were unverified. His work was later deemed unreliable, and a more recent study actually counted about 122 recorded bog bodies. Nowadays, modern forensics can actually tell us a lot about these bodies. This includes their age, we can reconstruct their appearance, and even determine what their last meal was with their stomach contents, since the soft tissue is so well preserved. For example, the face of one girl was reconstructed in 1992 using CT scans of her face. What do y'all think? Do you think it's accurate? One of the craziest bog bodies ever discovered is that of the Toland man. As you can see, his face is crazy well preserved. He was discovered in 1950 in Denmark, and at first, people believed he was a recent murder victim, which I don't blame them for thinking that at all. But actually, he died around 5th century BC at around 40 years old. As you can see, he was wearing a sheepskin cap, and if you look closely, you can see a noose drawn around his neck. It's unknown whether he was ritually sacrificed or was executed as a criminal. His final meal was porridge with barley, flax, wild seeds, and fish. The girl I mentioned earlier is also believed to have died in a similar manner. She was found with a woolen band around her neck and was stabbed with a knife in her left clavicle. But she was much younger than the Toland man, having died at around 16 years old in 200 BC. The youngest bog body ever discovered is the Rost girl, who died at only 3 years old. Her cause of death is unknown, but it's likely she died between 280 BC. She was discovered in 1926, but unfortunately her body was destroyed during the Second World War. Now, if you're a curious American like me, you're probably wondering if North America has any bog bodies as well. And the answer is actually yes. The Windover site in Florida has yielded up to 168 individuals, dating back from 5,000 to 8,000 years ago. Although these bogs are a lot wetter than the European ones, so the skeletons are pretty well preserved, but the soft tissue, not so much. But preserved brains have been found in nearly 100 of the skulls. Let me know what your favorite bog body is. I hope y'all enjoyed this rather macabre video, but I still found it interesting to learn about. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe and smash that like button. Love you, bye!